Okay. So I'm going to let you read down through your slide number 4, and then I'll switch over to the section with Daniel.
Okay.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. It's not quite ready yet. There it goes. Okay, your turn.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the general meeting of the Astronomy Club of Tulsa on this Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. Welcome, new members. Welcome to the Astronomy Club of Tulsa. We are delighted to have you as members. As members, you will have many wonderful opportunities to join us in observing the beautiful night sky and make new friends and lasting memories for you and your families. Plus, there are many opportunities for public outreach to get others interested in our hobby. Also, please feel free to ask questions, offer suggestions, or volunteer to help out at our events. All new ideas are welcome, and we're glad you're here. Okay, upcoming events. Please note, due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, there will be no public or guest events scheduled until further notice. Our next members night will be Friday, December 11th at 6:30 p.m. Backup night will be Saturday, December 12th at 4:50 p.m. Members night will be Friday, December 18th at 6:30 p.m. Backup night, Saturday, December 19th at 4:50 p.m. Members night, Friday, January 8th at 6:30 p.m. Backup night, Saturday, January 9th at 5 p.m. Members night, Friday, January 15th at 6:30 p.m. And backup Saturday, January 16th at 5 p.m. All of these events will take place at the observatory. Our next club Zoom meeting will be Tuesday, January the 19th at 7 p.m. I'm going to take a screenshot of that real quick so I will
remember all of that, huh?
There we go.
General meetings
will be held via Zoom for the remainder of this year and possibly into next year as well. We're just going to see how the pandemic plays out, and dates and times will be announced.
I might add on our backup night times. Friday night is real difficult to get people off work and up there to open up by sunset. So we set those all at 6:30. Yeah. But Saturday nights we can open up just before sunset. So that's why there's such a big difference. If we go to a backup night, we have a little bit more freedom. Okay.
Guidelines for observing nights. Set up your equipment at least 6 feet away from each other and remain at least 6 feet away from each other. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. We encourage the wearing of masks if you wish to chat with people. Please exercise proper hand washing and sanitizing. There will be soap and hand sanitizer in the bathroom. Classroom is for access to the bathroom only. The dome is closed. Please wear a mask when warming up in the classroom area. No sharing of equipment. There will be some telescopes that members may use with designated eyepieces. These will be sanitized after each use. No children under the age of 12. All children must stay with their families at all times. And finally, relax, enjoy yourself, and have fun.
All right, we're going to turn this over to Daniel Smith here, and he's going to tell us how to take pictures with our cameras just using a tripod. So I've got to have to stop the screen share. And Daniel, there you are. You'll have to start a screen share.
All right. Let's get this going here. Well,
or maybe we can just switch to speaker view and then we'll be able to see you.
Yeah, I think that'd be a better idea there. All right. Well, my name's Daniel Smith. I've been a member of the club for a little over 2 years. Been vice president for a little over a year, and I kind of got started in astronomy heavily, probably about 4 years ago when I got my first telescope, and started taking some pictures of the moon with my cell phone held up to the eyepiece. That's probably the simplest type of astrophotography you can do. But shortly after that, I started doing wide field Milky Way photos, and now I do deep sky imaging and things like that. In some later presentations, we'll kind of get into deep sky imaging with astrophotography rigs like telescopes and tracking mounts and things like that. But for tonight, we're going to keep it really simple. A lot of people, might have access to a DSLR camera. A DSLR camera is usually one of the digital cameras that you can exchange lenses with. And if you've got that kind of a camera and you need a wide field lens, and I'll get into that here just a little bit, and then you need a tripod. If you've got that, you can take pictures of the Milky Way, provided you've got some decently dark skies, or you can travel to dark skies. So if you live in the Tulsa area, you're probably gonna want to travel outside of Tulsa. This would be a great opportunity at our observatory to do some photography like that. So I've got my camera sitting over here, and I've got it sitting on a tripod. This is kind of what I started with. On this camera, this is a Canon T4i, so it's actually an older model DSLR. You don't have to have the latest, greatest, newest model DSLR to do this. And then on this, I've got a 16 millimeter wide angle lens. Now, a lot of people, when they get a DSLR, it will come with what's called a kit lens, which is like with Canon cameras, it's usually an 18 millimeter to 55 millimeter zoom lens. You can use that for astrophotography. Those lenses are not as high quality as some of the other ones you can get, and so you're going to get a little bit of what's called chromatic aberration. Stars, but you can still use that. You're going to want to use it from the lowest setting, 18 millimeters, the widest field of view. So that's what I'm 16 millimeter broken on f2 lens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you some of the settings that you can use in order to take some pictures. So first off, you're going to want to mount your DSLR on a tripod. Any tripod, but my recommendation would be if you can afford something a little bit nicer than a tripod you might get at Walmart, I would encourage you to, because those cheaper tripods are a little slim, and they shake really easily, especially if there's any amount of breeze in the shake of the camera. And when you're doing a long exposure, that's going to show up. The stars will be look fuzzy and blurry. So you'll put your DSLR on your tripod, and the first thing that you're going to want to do is, we talk about your aperture, selection of your aperture. You'll see, anything about DSLR, the lens stuff, there's this thing called an f-stop. You want your f-stop, typically, for starters, you want to put it as wide open as possible. That means the lowest number. For this lens, that would be, for me, would be f2. On a kit lens, if you've got one, typically the lowest that they'll go is f3.5. So you're going to want it wide open as much as possible. Then the next thing that you're going to want to do is figure out how long is an exposure that you need. The idea of astrophotography is to capture stars, right? But we don't want our stars to be blurry. Your camera's sitting on the Earth, and the Earth is rotating, and that's why the stars don't move. The Earth rotates, but that's why the stars move throughout the night sky. And when you're capturing them, if you take a long exposure, and it's really long, you'll start to see the stars start to make trails. So that's something we want to avoid when we're taking a nighttime photo. So with a wide field lens, there's a maximum amount of time for an exposure that you can take before you start to see those star trails. And there's a simple rule. It's a guideline. It's not necessarily a hard and fast rule, but a simple guideline to help you with that. It's called the rule of 500. What you're going to do is you're going to take your focal length of your lens, So for instance, mine is 16, and you're going to divide that into 500. I think for mine, that ends up approximately being about 30 seconds. However, something to consider that works for full frame. If you have a full frame DSLR, if you have a crop sensor DSLR, mine's what would be considered a 1.6x crop sensor. You're gonna take your 500. You're gonna divide your focal length into it. For me, that's 30, and then you're gonna divide that 30 by 1.6, which is my crop factor. And ultimately, that gives me an exposure time of about 15 to 20 seconds. So I can take a 15-second photo, 15-second exposure, without seeing star trail. So you want your aperture, your f-stop to be as low as it can be. You're going to want to get that exposure time. For me, it's about 15 seconds. And then you're going to want to set your ISO. The ISO refers to the sensitivity of the camera sensor. For my particular camera, it's usually 800 ISO or 1600 ISO. That's unfortunately for a lot of these, all DSLR cameras are different. The most common ones are probably going to be Canon and Nikon. Some people you might have a Pentax, you might have Sony, various different ones. And a lot of those sensors are a little different. So with Canon, typically 800 to 1600, but you might want to experiment with it. Set it at 2. I have it set at a 15-second exposure, and then I've got my ISO set at 1600. Okay. Now a couple of other things that you want to consider. You know, when you push that shutter button, it's going to cause your camera to shake. So you don't actually want to activate your shutter button with your finger. What you want to do is you want to set a timer. I've got mine set for 2-second timer. So when I push the button, it'll wait 2 seconds and then take a picture. Another option would be what's called a remote shutter release or interpolometer, which is connected to your camera by a cord. A lot of the newer ones, a DSLR within the last year or two, they have Wi-Fi connectivity where you can control the camera through your phone. So that's an option too. But you want to set your timer so that it takes the picture after that. Another thing that some people kind of experiment with is something got a mirrored DSLR is a mirror lockup. What it does is it locks the mirror open, because that can also create some shake in the view. It's not necessary. Probably get away with that, but you might look into that. So those are the basic settings. I've already got everything set up on my camera. I didn't want to go through all of those things to show you. Everybody's DSLR is different. Menus are completely different. So if you've got a different DSLR than what I've got, it's likely to be really good to show you what buttons to push. The last important thing is focus. You've got to be able to focus on your lens. I'm going to go ahead and bring this over here so I can show you guys this. Make sure that it's in view here. So on here, you will see on my lens, there's a little thing there where it says meters, and it looks like the infinity sign. A lot of people think when you're focusing on the stars, you just put it all the way over and it's focused, but that's not typically true. Sometimes camera lenses can focus beyond infinity. So you see, mine's actually not quite all the way over. So how do we get it focused though? That's the big question. Sometimes those stars can be very hard to see. Most of your modern DSLRs have what's called a live view. So what you're going to want to do is get your camera and you want to point it at a really bright star. You might even be able to get away with looking at a planet like Mars or Jupiter and Saturn are disappearing quickly, but other times of year you might be able to see them. But find a really, really bright star, point your camera at it, go into live view, And a lot of the live views allow you to go up to 5x or 10x so that you can get a really tight view on that star. And using that, you want to slowly adjust your focus so that the star looks as tight as possible. That's the easiest way to get it focused. Once you get that done, you're going to want to point your camera up at a portion of the sky. The summertime is a great place, a great time of year to take those great Milky Way photos everybody knows about. But wintertime, there's a lot of stuff up in the sky you can take pictures of too. The Orion constellation is in the winter part of the Milky Way, and it makes a fantastic subject for wide field shots. So I've got it pointed up kind of in the Cygnus area right now. But I'm going to go ahead and take a picture. It'll be a 15-second exposure, and I'll show you kind of what we get here. So if you'll just give me 1 second, we'll get this turned on. All right. So you see I've got 15 seconds there. I've got my aperture wide open, ISO 16, 2-second shutter. There he goes. Now it's taking a 15. It's a 15-second exposure, so that shutter will stay open for a solid 15 seconds. All right. So I don't know how well you can see that or not. Hopefully you can. I'm not really sure how well that shows up on screen, but in my picture there, I've got settings. All of those settings. Don't forget your ISO, your aperture. All kind of guide. DSLR depending on the lens that you use. Those things can be tweaked. So that's the thing you can do. Get out there and experiment. It's okay to fail. It's okay to get out there and take pictures and bring it back in, load up here, and that might not turn out very good. That's a learning.
Daniel, your microphone, I think, is covered up.
Is it? Hang on a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just have to be a little closer to the phone.
About that. So, you want to get out there and just experiment with all those things and practice. It's okay. Might not get the greatest shot starting off, but everybody that starts off in astrophotography, if you're really wanting to get into it, it's a game of patience and it's a game of trial and error and learning and just having fun doing it. We're going to be on the next Zoom meeting. I'll probably be doing another little presentation. And what we'll do is we'll talk about how to get those pictures out of the back of your camera and process them a little bit and make them look good. One more thing I forgot to add. When you're doing photos like this, you want to make sure that you don't want to capture in JPEG. You want to capture your images in the RAW mode. That's very important for processing. So that's all I've got for you, unless anybody has any questions or anything.
All right, Daniel, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'm going to go back to screen share here in just a minute. But let's see where we're at. So I might add, those of you who have smartphones, especially the newer ones, they have some pretty amazing abilities to take wide. They already got a wide field lens on them. But I have a iPhone, and I got a little app called Nightcap. And just sitting on a tripod, I can, in my backyard here in East Broken Arrow, I can get nice constellation shots. So let's see where we're going next here. Oh, there we go. I want to say a little bit about our club's Facebook page. Hope you can see all that. That happy little guy at the top there is our new public Facebook coordinator, Adam Koloff. He's one of our new board members, just elected this fall. And our Facebook page has been kind of hurting for some new ideas. So hopefully you all can hear me. Anyway, down there in the corner, you can see that he did a live moon shot from about 30 minutes or so of the moon on November 30th when we had a penumbral eclipse. And there's Daniel and Adam and James all went up to the observatory and did a nice video on the different kinds of telescopes and what to look for. That's on our Facebook. Adam has been, and Daniel too, have been posting some of their pictures and other people's pictures. And been posting dates to go look for the space station when it's going over. So take a look at our club Facebook. You can get to it at facebook.com/Astronomy Club of Tulsa, or you can go to our astronomy page, Astronomy Club of Tulsa page, astrotulsa.com, and up at the top is a little icon, a little purple F, and you can click on that, and it'll take you to our Facebook page. So like us, and you'll get more messages. My brain. Adam is planning on doing something for the planet conjunction in a couple of weeks live.
Cool.
So if the weather will cooperate, I think we'll all want to kind of take a look at that. So I just wanted to give him a heads up and a big thank you for getting that thing going better again. Well, the big thing on the news is the grand conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn that's going on now in your backyard. You don't have to wait until December 31st. The two planets are in the southwest. You'll see Jupiter soon after it gets dark. It's the brightest star over there, about 20 degrees up in the southwest. And just above it and to the left a bit is Saturn. And they're getting closer and closer and closer together. This weekend, they'll only be 1 degree apart, which means that they'll fit in the same field of view in low power eyepieces, your telescope. They already fit easily into binocular views. By the following weekend, they'll be 1/5 of a degree apart. And at their closest point on December 21st, there'll be 6 arc minutes. We divide a degree into 60 parts. 1/60th of a degree is called an arc minute. So they're going to be 1/10 of a degree apart. And they said it about 7:30. So you got to get out there from, when it starts getting dark, about 5:40 until they get too low. But these things only happen about once every 20 years. Last one we had was in 2000, but it was too close to the sun to see very well. So the last one we could see fairly well was a triple conjunction in 1980-81. And the next one will be 2041, but they'll be much farther apart. Already seeing a whole bunch of stuff on the news about the Christmas star, first time in 100 years. All sorts of things like that. It's a nice planetary conjunction. It's spectacular and we enjoy looking at it, but it's not the end of the world. So don't get carried away with the hype, but go out and take a look. Don't wait until the 21st. You can start trying taking some pictures of them, just like Daniel was showing us. Just set your camera up, point it over there, and see what you get. So that's a grand conjunction. There's a nice article in our December newsletter about it. Next thing's coming up is the Geminid meteor shower. It's one of the 2 best showers of the year. There's, of course, the Perseid shower in August and the Geminid shower in December. And this one produces a lot of slow, 76,000 miles an hour, slow moving meteors And in good dark skies, the zenith hourly rate can reach 100 an hour, but that's a little deceptive. That means if you were looking straight up in the darkest skies possible, you might see 100 an hour. But on good night, you'll see 40, 50 meteors a night. We have our observing night this Friday. Right now, the weather's not looking too good for Friday, but the observing night's still going on. The peak of the shower is Sunday night, the 13th, and the morning of the 14th, Monday. So if there's any interest among the club members and the weather will cooperate, we're talking about maybe trying to open up the observatory that evening. So I'll send out an email later to see how many people are interested, or you can, say something in the chat box. But that's a Geminid meteor shower, and Gemini rises just about 7:30 in the evening in the northeast, and of course it's high overhead after midnight when the shower is the best. So hopefully you'll get out there. I saw one the other night, so they're already kind of beginning to go on. So go out and take a look when you're outside. If you want to look at meteor showers, you got to plan on being out at least 30 minutes, get good and dark adapted, and be patient. You might sit 10 minutes, not see any, and you might see 3 or 4 in the next minute. That's just kind of the way they are. So that's the Geminid shower, and it's already underway and getting better each day this week. And it'll last until about the 17th or so. But
As much as I want to be out there with y'all, can y'all hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay. As much as I want to be out there with y'all, Owen has to work at 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning, and I have to be at work at 8 o'clock on Monday morning. And I don't know if I'm going to be there over the weekend because Owen is working overtime until probably at least December 19th. So he is working Fridays and Saturdays, and he has to be there at 6 in the morning. He gets off at 6:30 at night. Yeah, they're having him pull 12-hour shifts. So
okay, well, it'll be open for those who can come. That's what we wanted to tell them. All right, let me introduce our program here, because it's about an hour long. Our guest speaker tonight is Dr. Emily Levesque. She's an astronomy professor at the University of Washington. She's going to share her experiences as a professional astronomer. She's worked at some of the best telescopes in the world. She did her astronomical study at the University of Hawaii, did time on the Subaru telescopes on Mauna Kea, which is, I believe, the highest observatory in the world, 14,100 feet. She also has written a new book called The Last Stargazers, in which she shares stories of other astronomers in the past and present. And there's more in our newsletter from December. You can find that on our website under the About tab. But a couple of notes here. This program was part of the Night Sky Network webinars. They have them approximately once a month, not every month. But our club is a member of the Night Sky Network. It's part of the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, and they promote astronomy education and astronomy for clubs across the country. But this was recorded in late August. So when they talk about clicking on the chat screen and such, it's not going to work for them. They're not going to hear us. We're listening to a recording. So I'm going to try to start here in a minute. Be sure and put your devices on mute. There are some Q&A in the program itself. And if we can come back after it's over and you're still around, we'll have some question and answers among ourselves. But we're going to take a look at Dr. Emily Levesque and what she can tell us about astronomy, if I can figure out how to get out of this one and to the next one. All right. You'll turn your mics back on. Looks like we have most everybody still here. So I just hope you had a good experience listening to that.
Oh yeah.
We would
Very
like some feedback, especially from some of you that are first time or fairly new members, like Megan up there, and I don't see her name up there, the other young lady I talked to, but we hope to continue to do this. If you, oh my goodness, Craig, I'm so jealous. I'm waiting for Santa Claus to bring me that. Craig
Me
has the book
too.
already.
Great
So,
book.
no
I just
spoilers
got it
yet.
yesterday, day before
No.
yesterday, and read through it.
All right. Spoiler alert. Don't be spoiling that. So that's great. Anyway, any other comments from our listeners before we close this down?
Thought it was a great presentation. I'm definitely going to buy the book when I get paid.
Sounds like a good deal. How many of you, I know we don't have very many people still on, but how many of you would be interested in coming out Sunday night, the 13th, if the weather's good? It'll probably be cold, but we've got a good meteor shower coming on, so I'll send out an email, see how many people are interested.
I probably would.
Oops,
Yeah,
I think it started again. I'm sorry.
I said I would come. I'll bring my camera and do some meteor photos.
Okay, I lost you because this guy started talking again. Yeah, I plan to try out the iPhone app that I talked about called Nightcap. You put it on a tripod and it has a special meteor mode. It takes a whole bunch of I think it's 8-second exposures, and it looks at them. If anything's moving, it saves that frame and takes another one. So it has the ability to capture meteors. I've only actually caught one with it, but I have caught a number of satellites with it. That's pretty good. So anyway, that's our program for tonight. Um, on the 14th, I believe it is, there is a total solar eclipse in Chile and South America. I'm going to try to send out information about how you can watch it live on the Earth's observing satellites. I did that once last year. And you can see the umbra going across the Pacific Ocean and crossing the South American continent. So that's coming up on the new moon, which is on the 14th. So, all right, we thank you for coming in tonight. Tamara, you have anything to close us out with?
Nothing else except hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'm glad to see y'all. And hopefully next month I will be out at the observatory again. Like I said, I can't come out this weekend because I got to get Owen to work. And of course, Sunday night I got to go to bed early because I too have to go to work. So I might try to go out in my front yard and see if I can see any meteors. Probably not from Midtown Tulsa, but
Give it a try. Who knows? You
I'll give it a try.
might see the most awesome fireball ever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the rest of us, I'm going to go take a peek out the backyard because it's clear and it's not even below freezing yet. So
Yeah.
I'm going to head on out and thank you for coming in.